So you just got done playing Persona 3 Reload and you're like, I can't wait to play episode Aigis, never played it before. Should you pay the money for it? So if you haven't seen, I made a review of the main game. I'll put a card for that here. Probably go watch that before you watch this. I'm not gonna give any spoilers. I'm gonna say that they use a lot of the assets, which is good, from the original game. So there's no new thing that you're really gonna see other than the main area that you're gonna be in, but it's pretty generic. They did create some new levels in the dungeons, which is great. To my knowledge, none of the shadows, you'll know what shadows are by now, are new. I don't think, they might have created different colors, but the actual models themselves, I don't think anything is new other than the final boss. And I think that's it. It's not gonna be like the main game at all. It's not going to be, you're going to high school, it's not gonna be any of that. So if you're looking for more of that, if you're looking for more of the character development, it is there to a level, but it's not there to the level that it was in the main game. There's no levels to level up. You can't max anything out. There's none of that. That's all gone. It's kind of like Groundhog's Day meets a watered down version of the game that you are just coming off of. It's kind of like that in a somewhat good way. There is some cons to this, and I do want to talk about that. The game is advertised as 30 hours. I beat it in 22. I personally think that this could have been knocked down to 10 hours and it would have been just as good. And I think there was a lot of padding added to this game, maybe to make that price seem legit to people. The price for this thing, again, if you can get it on sale, get it on sale. I don't think it's worth the $30. I'm going to say that at the beginning of the video. There's not a ton to add that isn't going to ruin the storyline. So there is one new character that you're going to come across, and there's one character from the old game that is different than you're used to. And that's really it. You do follow Aigis's timeline, and the timeline is after the main story. I think it's a couple months after the main story, and you kind of relive that story until you all get the answer. And if you played the version, the total version of it back on the PS3, or maybe it even came, I think it actually came out on the PS2. I played it on the PS3. It was called The Question and the Answer. And this is the answer to the questions you might have, is why did the original game end so abruptly? Like, Japanese games were pretty well known for having the longest endings, like Death Stranded, The Stranding or Stranded. For example, he wanted to make the end game 24 hours, and that everybody's like, no, that's not gonna happen, but it's still 2 hours, right? And so a lot of Japanese studios are kind of like that. This one, just when you beat Persona 3, it's over. And so you get the answer onto what happened after everything. And it's kind of isolating in a way. It's kind of like, it's kind of just like you worked at a company, but the company went under and everybody kind of is going their own way. And it's kind of like sad in a way, and a new adventure's coming in a way, but then some of the people don't want that company to have ended. So they're a little irritated by that. And it's kind of like that. There's all the characters are in that. The way they act is in that. There's no leaving the dorm really, other than going to the mall, and that's just to replenish goods. You can't grow anything anymore on the roof. It's really a watered down version of the main game to just tell a story. Now, if you watched the original review that I did on the main story, you know that I'm not a huge fan of dungeon crawling, and this game is padded so heavy with dungeon crawling. And the worst part about that is when you create your personas, they don't have the extra experience points coming from those relationships that you built in the main game. That is gone, and I don't like that. But you still do have the skill cards, so if you want certain skills to go to certain different personas that you have, you can use a skill card like you did in the main game. Stupidly though, you cannot pull over that I could see your skill cards that you had in the other game, and I think you should be able to do that. You can pull over the personas that you had in the other game though. They cost a lot, and you don't get anywhere near as much money in this game as you did in the other one. So it does take a while before you can get your final characters. And I didn't feel invested in the fighting part at all. It felt like it was tacked on. It was just as good and intuitive, and the menus are good as the other one, but I don't know, the battle, it seemed like, I don't know, just empty, I guess, in a way. It's the best I can describe it. It just seemed empty and so much padding. I'm talking going from like an A cup to like a D cup, like women padding there or whatever, or like putting like the biggest sock in your pants. Like, they could have made this a 10-hour game or a DLC and it would have been fine, because the story is there. And there's dialogue in between the different levels in these dungeons, but it just doesn't make up in my mind. Now, if you're a total dungeon crawling freak, if that's only reason you play games, this game is your cup of tea. If you just want the story though, again, like I said in the first one, it's not random encounters, so you can get around the shadows. They're called shadows. You're gonna know that at this point. You can do the same thing that I did the same thing in this game. I got around as many as I could. I would fight the one with the flame coming out of it. I forget what they call that. And I would just level up as fast as I could. And I did end up becoming like a level 82 or 3 or something like that. So significantly less than I was in the main game, but good enough to beat this DLC. You do level up quicker in this game. Maybe it's just because of the way I did it. You do seem to level up quicker in this game. I really wish though that you would have come into this game at the level that you were at the end of the prior game, and the shadows would have been the same level or around the same level as you, and it would just been that way. Like, I really think they should have done that. And if they would have done that, then they could have had a lot less levels, and they could have just had that story. And there's these different doors that you're gonna go through in this game, and that's kind of how you advance the story and get different storylines, and you know, it's find out what's actually going on and why, you know, Aigis has this alternative Aigis basically, and you'll figure all that out, and you're gonna figure that out through these doors. If they would just look at the storyline, I think, in this, and not how many hours it is, I think it'd have been so much better. That being said, again, I would definitely do it again, just because it does answer everything. It does add a lot to the main story. It adds enough to make it worth the playthrough. Does it add enough to be $30? Probably not. I got it for $20. I think that's probably more where it should be. And that's it. Hopefully I've answered any kind of questions you might have. It's like a very watered down version of the main game. It reminds, if anybody is an X-Files fan, it reminds me of season 8. If you've watched season 8 of X-Files, that'll mean a lot to you. If you haven't, that'll mean nothing. And that's how I'm gonna end this. It's worth a playthrough. Again, if you can get it on sale, this is definitely worth getting on sale. And that's it. Any comments, questions, leave them down below. Like, subscribe, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Peace.